Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It is July, which means it's time to do our mid-year book freakout tag. So this is the first video I ever filmed on my channel a year ago at this point, so wow, crazy. It's been a whole year. I'm coming back to this video that I first started with, and we're gonna do it. I looked at the questions, and these questions for this tag are hard. Like, the first question is, what's the best book you've read so far? I don't know. I've read many good books. I can't pick a favorite yet. Okay, we've got 13 questions to get through, so let's roll. Like I said, the first question is, what is the best book you've read so far? I've read a lot of good books this year. I've only read, I've only read 27 books in 2021 so far, but a lot of them have been good. So I'm just gonna quickly show you several of my favorites. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, whose name I can't pronounce. Lovely War by Julia Berry. And Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. That's just a couple of my favorites. Let's move on to the second question. The second question is the best sequel you've read so far in 2021. That's a no-brainer. I have to go with Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This was beautiful. This is the sequel book to Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Oh my god, it's just so good. This book was massive, and it ended on such a cliffhanger that I'm going crazy every minute I think about this, and I don't have the next book in my hands. So I can't wait for the third book. It should come out next year, I think. Next question is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. And for that one, I'm going to have to say One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I have been so excited for this book. I will pick it up shortly. I just need to get around to it. I know that this is a lesbian romance time travel vibe book. I don't really know much about it. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. I'm sure it's fantastic because I love her other books, so I will pick it up eventually. Soon, I hope. Alright, question number 4 is most anticipated released for the rest of the year. Now, I had a little bit of a difficult time coming up with my answer for this question because, to be honest, I don't keep up with new releases. I will occasionally get an email from Goodreads that's like, hey, an author you liked has published a book. Or if it's a series I'm reading, I'll wait for those. But I don't really, look up when books are coming out. So I googled and I was like, what's coming out later in 2021? And I found out that there's going to be a third book to A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. And that book is The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks. So this is the third book in that little trilogy. I read the first 2 books. I loved the first book, Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Fantastic. And then the second book was, A Lady's Guide to Piracy and something. I don't know. It's on my shelf somewhere. Oh, it's probably right here. Aha! Yep. The second book is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. This one I didn't like quite as much as the third one, but I really like Mackenzie Lee. So I thought might as well read that one. I think it comes out in November, so I'm going to try to read the third book and see how that one is. Okay, this is kind of a downer question, but question number 5 is your biggest disappointment. Now, I hate to say this. I hate this question. I hate being disappointed, as we all do. Now there's one that I could say was a disappointment. Do you know which one it is? Where is she? Oh, it's down here. This book was a disappointment of sorts. I still read it, I still enjoyed it, but it was stupid. And that is A Court of Silver Flames, which I have a whole reading vlog about this book. It's 40 minutes long. It's ridiculous. But I just have so many thoughts about this book. It was so not necessary. It was a disappointment because I love Sarah J. Maas. I love her writing. And this one was just a pain in my butt. I can't say that this was my biggest disappointment because I knew that it was going to be stupid and pointless. You know, my expectations were really low going into this, so I can't say that this was a huge disappointment because, what did I expect? Now, I do have a real disappointment, and that is Lore by Alexandria Bracken. I feel bad for hating on this book so much on my channel because I really do like Alexandria Bracken. Her other books I have thoroughly enjoyed, like The Darkest Minds and the Passenger series. Those were really good. But this book just wasn't it. I had such high hopes. Everyone was hyping this book up. I was ready to love it. I was like, my girl, Alexandria Bracken's making something with Greek mythology. Count me in. And then it just wasn't very good. It just wasn't good. It wasn't good. The characters were shallow. The plot was flimsy at best. The whole concept was just stupid. It was super predictable and just extremely annoying. Okay, that was really vicious. I'm very sorry about that, but that's my personal opinion. If you love this book, that's fine. You do you. Okay, now turning into a more positive note, let's go for the biggest surprise. What did I say? Oh, my biggest surprise this year was The Institute by Stephen King. I've never actually read a Stephen King book before, which again is a surprise in itself, but I'm afraid of Stephen King because I don't like horror, I don't like scary stuff, but my book club read The Institute and it was so good. Like, I need to pick up another Stephen King book. I don't know why I haven't yet, but I will. Mark my words, I will pick up another Stephen King because this book was phenomenal. It was so good. And it really wasn't scary. Like, it was just kind of creepy and like a weird situation to think about, but it really wasn't scary. So if you know any other Stephen King books that are not super horror-y, let me know because I'm not about to read it. Like, that's too much for me, but The Institute was really good. The Institute follows a young boy who was kidnapped in the middle of the night and brought to an institute where they test him and a bunch of other kids for special abilities. Our main character, Luke, has no idea what's going on. He's very confused. And he just tries to break out of the institute, basically. That's all you need to know. It's very good. Okay, question number 7 is your new favorite author. I'm so excited that I've discovered this author, and that is T.J. Klune. I read The House in the Cerulean Sea by him earlier this year, and it was just so beautiful. Like, I have not read a book that is so touching and beautiful in a long time, and I just love it. It's so good, and I'm so excited to read his other books because I'm sure that they're going to be just as beautiful as well. Okay, question number 8 is your newest fictional crush. I have a hard time with this because I mainly have just like 3 stable fictional crushes at all times, and they've been the same since like middle school. But I think that I do have a new fictional crush, 2 really, from the same book. And that is the characters Aubrey and James from Lovely War. Aubrey and James are both young men who are serving in World War I. James is British, Aubrey is American. They're just such great characters in their own right. Aubrey is a young man from Harlem who plays piano, and he like plays like ragtime and jazz and swing music, and he's just so fun and lighthearted and goofy. And then James is more soft-spoken, a little quieter, from a small town in England, and he's just like a perfect gentleman. But I just love both of them. Like, they were such good love interest in these books. And the 2 female characters that go along with those 2 male characters were also really, really lovely. I liked all 4 of these characters. They were phenomenal. Okay, the next question is your newest favorite character. I had a hard time with this one as well because there's so many characters I loved from the books I've read. So I'm going to tell you 2. I think I've got 2 new favorite characters. And the first is Patroclus from The Song of Achilles. I think it's Patroclus. Patroclus. I think that's how you say his name. Even though they say it like 10 times in the book how to pronounce it, I can never get it right. But Patroclus is a character from Greek mythology. You know him from the story of Achilles. He was Achilles' best friend / lover, you know. He's just such a good guy. He's just so sweet and just good and pure and loving, and he was just so beautiful in this book. This book in itself is just gorgeous, but Patroclus was a shining star in my opinion. Also, even though this book was a somewhat disaster, I really like Gwen from this book. She's just such a fun girl. Love her. She's a great friend. She's awesome. She's a badass. We love Gwen. Vesta's grown on me a little bit, but she's nowhere near as cool as Gwen, and that's the truth. Okay, question number 10 is a book that made you cry. I just finished this book earlier today, and I'm still not over it. I cried like 10 times, and that is Lovely War by Julie Berry. I just mentioned this book, but it was just so beautiful and so touching, and just it made me sob. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, go read it. 2 love stories spanning World War I. It's narrated by the gods of Olympus in 1942, telling the story of these 2 couples from like 1918, whatever. It's just so beautiful. It's so good. It made me cry. I love it. Okay, question 11 is a book that made you happy. I've already mentioned this one twice now because it's that good. And that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is just such a happy, feel-good story about family and friendship and acceptance and finding love and happiness, and it's just so cute and beautiful, and it's hilarious. I laughed. I cried a little bit in this book, but like happy tears. So if you want a feel-good book, if you want to pick something up that's just gonna hit you in the heart and just make you smile, pick up this book by T.J. Klune. It's so good. Okay, question number 12 is most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. I can't really decide what my most beautiful book is, and I don't really want to do this and choose this same book again, but I kind of have to because the cover of Lovely War is just gorgeous. I mean, you have our main character Hazel in her beautiful pink coat, and she's holding the little Eiffel Tower in her hand, and there's a plane and there's soldiers up here because it's World War I. I just think this cover is stunning. Like, it's just beautiful. Like, you just can't ignore it. And then the side is pink as well. Like, it's gorgeous. I love this cover. Okay, and finally we're at our last question, which is books that you want to read by the end of the year. Now, I have an entire TBR shelf over there, which has more books than I am proud to admit on it. But to keep this simple, we're just gonna go for a couple of them. So, off my TBR shelf, the 3 that I most want to get to is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I actually just bought this book today. I went to Target with my mom and sister and I picked it up because I love Frederick Backman. He's an amazing author. He's written some of my all-time favorite books, so I know that this one will not be a disappointment. I'm going to get to this one as quickly as possible for sure. And then these other 2 sometime soon, I hope. Then there's a couple other books that I want to get to as well. I'm going to give those a shout out. I want to read Gods and Monsters, which is the 3rd book to Serpent and Dove. I read Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey in like May or something, and I don't think they're anything super special. I don't love them, but I'm intrigued enough that I need to know how this story finishes, so I'm gonna go pick up Gods and Monsters soon. And I still really, really want to read Jade City by Fonda Lee. I mentioned this book back in my video I did in like January of books I want to read in 2021, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I know it's going to be so good, so Jade City is on my list. I will get to it soon. Okay, that's all the questions for this tag. Thanks for watching. Let me know how your reading year is going down below. Like I said, I've read like 27 books this year. A lot of them have been really good. I'm loving my reading year so far. I'm Angelina, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!